Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Rutamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सागणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Okay, so we will continue where we left off. Okay, 1:5:26. तत्रान्वहं कृष्णकथा प्रगायताम् अनुग्रहेण शृण्वन् मनोहराः ताः श्रद्धया मेऽनुपदं विशृण्वतः प्रियश्रवस्यङ्गममाभवद्रुचिः। O Vyasadeva, in that association and by the mercy of those great Vedantis, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Krishna, and thus listening attentively, my taste for hearing of the personality of Godhead increased at every step. Uh, in the previous verse, he had taken the remnants of food of those devotees, and by so doing, all his sins were at once eradicated. And he became purified in heart. And at that time, the very nature of transcendentalists became attractive, meaning he became attracted to devotees. So, sins eradication, how do we know if sins are getting eradicated? If we are becoming purified in heart, then we know that sins are being eradicated. And then devotional service becomes more and more attractive to us, and more specifically, devotees become more attractive to us. So that is an indication of progress. Okay, so after that, what happened? What is the next step? Once somebody becomes attracted to devotees, what happens is the next stage, which is hearing. I could hear them describe attractive activities of Lord Krishna. So they were talking about activities of Lord Krishna, which are by nature attractive. Thus listening attentively. So this is very important. That is why Shravanam is important, but Shravanam has to happen with attention. Attention means what? Attention means not just simply attentively hearing, as in concentrating well and hearing, But attentively also means taking it seriously. Attentively also means trying to apply in our life. Right? So thus listening attentively, what happened? Taste for hearing increased at every step. And this is the whole reason why we are trying to study this Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, because Śrīmad Bhāgavatam has to be discussed in the association of devotees. And when we hear Śrīmad Bhāgavatam attentively, then actually our taste for hearing will increase at every step. So, and actually this stage, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that actually here, this is actually indicating asakti and bhava. So previous verses, actually Narada Muni had already moved through Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi stages. So in different stages of bhakti, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, then Anartha Nivritti, then Nishtha, then then Ruchi. Then this verse he's saying is actually talking about asakti and bhava. Asakti and bhava. So which means that just by the process of hearing, one can actually reach bhava and eventually prema also. But that listening, hearing of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam has to happen. Attentive hearing has to happen. So what Prabhupada is saying in the purports, by hearing about the Supreme Person of Godhead, all accumulated sins are cleared. Then the hearer gradually becomes liberated from mundane association and becomes attracted to the features of the Lord. So, see, this is previous verse says we become attracted to devotees. By becoming attracted to devotees, we start hearing. By starting to hearing, accumulated sins are cleared, and we become liberated, and we become purified, and then we become purified, we become further attracted to the features of the Lord. So Shravanam results in that creating that attraction, and will result in more Shravanam. If we are properly doing Shravanam, then we would like to do more Shravanam. We would like to hear more about the attractive features of the Lord. Actually, we should understand Śrīmad Bhāgavatam actually doesn't, as in Madhurya Rasa in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is there to a limited extent. Limited extent meaning the number of verses directly relating to Madhurya Rasa is limited, and in fact, I mean, because there is not even a direct mention of Srimati Radharani, so obviously there is need for us to eventually go and read scriptures of previous Acharya, other related scriptures that so many devotees have written. Rupa Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, so many other devotees have written so many books describing Krishna and his pastimes. But for all that, actually we have to be free from mundane conception. Otherwise, we can't actually even reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam when we come to the Rasa Panchadhyaya or activities dealing with gopis. Actually, we cannot much understand because it pretty much looks like mundane stuff. So unless we become pure, we cannot enter into these topics. And if we don't enter into these topics, then there's no question of entering into Goloka. So while today for us, we are in Vaidhi Bhakti, bread and butter stage, right? Like We are struggling with our sadhana, with very basic stuff. The first thing is we have to become free from this mundane attraction, for which we read Śrīmad Bhāgavatam repeatedly. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Repeatedly we have to read, so that by repeated hearing about Krishna, we become purified and then we become free from mundane association. Then actually we should read Chaitanya Charitamrita and then come to Antya Leela. When we come to Antya Leela is actually Krishna Prema. I mean, most of the verses there we can't understand what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going through. It looks crazy, literally. So that itself is like really PhD. But for even to understand Chaitanya Charitamrita and what emotions Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, basically Radharani is expressing there, we have to understand Bhakti Tattva. To understand, so we should have read Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So there is so much stuff, as in, and the rasa is there. But before we can get there, we have to, we should be free from this mundane association. We can be free from mundane association by studying Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. Because Bhagavatam is fully about transcendental activities of the Lord. So while it might just look like, okay, one more verse, one more purport, one more verse, one more purport, we don't understand what is going on behind. Every verse of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam we are reading, we are getting purified. When I say verse, as in, even we are reading, going through every verse, translation, purport, we are getting purified. If you're not getting purified, then we are not reading. Then we are just doing something which looks like reading, right? So attentive listening, attentive reading should result in purification. So why am I spending so much time on this? Because actually we can only come to that stage by spending a lot of time on Bhagavatam. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. As in, the other way is chanting Hare Krishna. But chanting Hare Krishna is Nama Parada stage will not help us. At least we have to come to Nama Bhasa. How many of us are very clearly aware of Nama Parada? Maybe we'll discuss it some other time because it's going to deviate, but just for my information. How many devotees are aware of Nama Parada? What does Nama Parada involve, etc.? Okay. Anybody is aware? Nobody is lifting your hands.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Ah.
Prabhuji, inattentive chanting. While when we are chanting, we are seeing around.
No, that's very limited. That's just one of them. Not just inattentive chanting. So there are 10 plus 1, 11 aparadas, Nama aparadas. We should know them and we should try to prevent them. If we don't try to prevent them, then we will be in the stage of Nama Parada. Stage of Nama Parada, we will not experience much progress. Then we have to overcome Nama Parada. Because chanting with Nama Parada is it's useful, as in, because we are taking Krishna's name, but we might not get Krishna Prema. We might not, we will not get Krishna Prema. For us to get Krishna Prema, we have to chant in Shuddhanama, stage of Shuddhanama. So which actually takes years. But actually hearing attentively can give us much faster results. Actually, hearing will also result in better chanting, as in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, right? So, how much ever we hold on to Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, that much we will make serious progress. Okay, so that's the reason why I'm spending so much time on these words. Okay, so hearing is extremely key. Hearing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Okay, verse 27.
One point, Prabhuji, when
Yeah.
we hear and related to Nama Prada, I remember even thinking about pastimes during japa is kind of aprada. So, but hearing will make us more close to those pastimes.
No,
right?
no, no.
Okay.
Once again, so just clarifying there. So we should not try to artificially think about pastimes. As in, we should not like, okay, Hare Krishna, then I'm thinking, okay, which Leela should I think about? No, it's not aparada. It's absolutely not aparada. But it's not the recommended process because it is maranam. And we are trying to remember, putting our mind and trying something that is smaranam or mananam. So that trying to remember pastimes of Krishna while chanting will not result in Krishna prema, but it's not an aparada.
Okay.
It's not an aparada. It's just that it'll not lead us to Krishna prema. Because Shravanam Kirtanam is what will lead us to Krishna prema. That is a process given. So it's okay if initially, if for sometimes some devotees have a habit of sitting in front of the photo of the Lord or like in front of the deities and chanting, looking at them. These are okay initially, because they will possibly help develop some attachment to the nama, if at all, right? As in, or we might, if we just become so attached to just seeing the deities, we will eventually get purified and we will possibly come to the stage of proper chanting. But those are definitely not aparada, but it's not the recommended process.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay, 1:5:27. Anyway, we'll talk about Namaprada after maybe, this chapter, because there is a flow here. I don't want to just break the flow. Tasmimstada labdarucher mahamate priyashravas khalita Yes, yayahametat sadasat swamayaya pashe mai brahmani kalpitam pare. Oh, great sage, as soon as I got a taste of the personality of God, taste, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching. So again, unflinching. What is the meaning of unflinching? Undisturbed, uninterrupted. Askhalita matihi, askhalita, uninterrupted. Also, actually, unflinching has one more meaning, I think. Resolute, determined, yeah. Uninterrupted, but also resolute. And as my taste developed, I could realize that it was only in my ignorance that I had accepted gross and subtle coverings, for both the Lord and I are transcendental. So this is Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayachita Janaiti Ashvairagyam Gnanam Cha Yadaitukam. So when we engage in this kind of Shravanam, and Narada Muni is saying, as my taste developed, taste for hearing, I could realize that it was only in my ignorance that I had accepted gross and subtle coverings, which means that I am who I am, Atma. Only in ignorance, I have accepted these material coverings and I'm suffering. Actually, our suffering is mainly because of the subtle covering, not because of the gross covering. Our suffering is because of the mind. Because mind creates mental concoction. If a mind thinks I'm suffering, then I'm suffering. If mind thinks I'm happy, I'm happy. So I, as soul, have kind of become contaminated by this mind, which is material. And because of that, I'm actually experiencing happiness and suffering in this material world. And mind will also result in my next body. And this attachment to this material covering, or the reason we got this material covering, is because of ignorance. Ignorance that about my real identity as to who I am. Because if I'm part and parcel of Krishna and his servant, then in ignorance, I decided to give up that position and take up this position of so-called enjoyment or trying to enjoy. So here Narada Muni is saying, as my taste developed, I could realize this, that it was just ignorance, right? So one can actually realize that, oh no, I am transcendental. As Atma, I am transcendental. I'm not material. So then why am I getting affected by these material things, material coverings? So as Ruchi increases, Bhava, so this we will realize only in Bhava stage. In the stage of Bhava, we will be able to completely realize that I am not this body. Yeah, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying in that stage, intelligence doesn't waver from the Lord, which means that 100% we are just fixed on the Lord. And there is no material topic for us to deal with. So we've crossed that stage of living a material life. So this hearing actually does this. As and how we do more hearing, we keep getting detached from mundane association. While we are in this mundane world, doing our duties, all that is going on. But we become free from attachment towards material things. And then we will realize, okay, whatever attachment I had was just my ignorance. Like, for example, I mean, when we know that if you've been in Krishna consciousness for some time, we would have, some realizations would have happened. We would have become purer to some extent. And then we look at all those stupid things that we were doing before coming to Krishna consciousness and laugh at ourselves. That what all nonsense I did. Right? Then another few years from fast forward, then again we'll think about our current stage. If we are making progress, we'll think about our current stage and say, oh, how foolishly I was just attached to my material body and things associated with it. So as we make progress, we realize that our previous stages were just different levels of ignorance. So in this stage, Narada Muni is able to realize that he is the Atma. So this happens at that stage of Bhava. It will happen to different levels in the earlier stages. Engage gross body in the service of the Lord in the temple. Engage subtle mind in the hearing of transcendental pastimes, thinking about them, chanting his name. So Prabhupada is saying, how do we, for us to completely get over this gross and subtle coverings, we have to engage the gross and subtle coverings in Krishna's service. So gross body has to be engaged in the service of the Lord, physical service of the Lord. subtle mind, which is a subtle covering, primarily has to be engaged in hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, thinking about them, chanting his name, etc. All of this is treatment for the subtle mind. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Japa, Mananam, all of this is just treatment for the subtle mind. So we should understand that we, in this whole process of Navavida Bhakti, there is more treatment required for subtle mind than gross body. Because gross body actually is just dead. Gross body cannot do much trouble to give much trouble to us. And it's just because of this subtle mind that we are stuck. Subtle mind can be purified only by associating, hearing, immersing ourselves with the pastimes of the Lord, because they are all pure. So just so that we are clear, association of devotees taking the dust of their lotus feet or taking their remnants itself will make us purified. Then automatically Shravanam will become attractive. Otherwise, we at least associate with here Śrīmad Bhāgavatam in the association of devotees. By the Shravanam, we become purified. More purification means more Shravanam. More Shravanam means we will make progress. We will come to Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava. And then we will come to the stage of realizing, okay, I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul, I'm really servant of Krishna. Then we will come to the stage of Siddhi, Siddha Deha, what is my eternal constitutional position, etc., etc. Right? For all that, two major or three major process: chanting, hearing, reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Third is serving pure devotees. Either of these are powerful enough. Combination is super powerful. Right? So eventually we will come to that stage of understanding. Today we might not, but as we continue our sadhana, we will come to that stage. Okay. Itam sharat pravasikavrituh prayer Shrunvato me anusavam yashomalam Sankirtyamanam munibhir mahatmabhir Bhakti pravrittatma rajastamopaha. Thus, during 2 seasons, rainy and autumn, I had the opportunity to hear these great-souled sages constantly chant the unadulterated glories of Lord Hari. Constantly chant unadulterated glories. As the flow of my devotional service began, the coverings of mode of passion and ignorance vanished. That is a very nice word Prabhupada has used. Flow of devotional service. Today, and there is no flow. It's stuck. It's stuck here, there, everywhere. All kinds of obstacles. So this flow actually is prema, stage of prema. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that this is prema. And when that prema appears, tamas and rajas are completely destroyed. Actually, in Anartha Nivritti, tamas and rajas are almost destroyed. They're not completely destroyed. What is that? Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudridayat nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. No, not this. What is that verse?
Narayanam Namaskrityam, Prabhu.
No. Mm. Okay, I'm not able to recollect. So basically, that word says that the anarthas are almost destroyed, not fully. So there's another book called Madhurya Kadambini. Okay, so that's a must read for all devotees. Why the name says Madhurya Kadambini, that has really nothing to do with Madhurya as such, as in it's just talking about how we make progress through the different stages of bhakti. And in that, technically, there is all of us will get an understanding of where we stand in bhakti. So there it says that when prema appears, only then all the anarthas are destroyed such that they cannot reappear. Complete destruction of anarthas. So that is why here it's saying the coverings of mode of passion and ignorance vanished. So we are now mostly struggling with anartha nivritti, and then we have to come to nishtha, then ruchi, then asakti, then bhava, then prema. A long way to go. And it's a long way, and we should have utsaha, nishchaya, dhairya. Because it is a hurdle race. Our material life is a hurdle race. And we have to keep jumping over multiple hurdles, obstacles that keep coming our way, which will prevent us from moving, from making progress. But somewhere one purport Prabhupada has written, saying that the life of a devotee is very adventurous. And it's true. Actually, when I first read that, I said, oh my God, I don't want any material adventures. But subsequently, then I realized saying that actually they're not material adventures. They're all spiritual adventures. Because once we surrender to Krishna, then Krishna is in control. Then we really don't know. I mean, he has his own plans. He has his own, he'll do stuff, right? So then it'll be like we are like spectators. Then we are seeing, oh, okay, this is the situation I'm dealing. Okay, now what Krishna is going to do. So it's like unknown, right? And then after that, we'll realize, oh, okay, this is what Krishna wanted to do. Okay, right? So we have to just become spectators and realize that Krishna is in control. He's in the driver's seat. So we don't have to just break our heads. We are so foolish that we think that, we are the doers. That if I don't think, nothing is going to happen. Krishna also says, because people don't understand this properly, so he says, karmanyeva adhikaraste. So we should attempt. We should do. We should attempt whatever some obstacle has come, okay, try to jump over it. Not that we'll just keep staring at the obstacle saying, chalo, niklo. That's not going to happen. I mean, that might also happen, but neither will we have the patience to wait for that obstacle to move by itself, nor will others around us. So we try, we put some effort, and then we are satisfied that I tried. But then actually Krishna is in control. Krishna is driving. So we should understand this. So, and then, then we will then the flow. Why am I saying all this? Because that flow has to start. Today, ahaituki apratihata is not happening. All obstacles. Everywhere obstacles. And every time an obstacle comes, our bhakti is affected. That way we will not come to prema. So it has to be ahaituki apratihata. Without reason, without obstruction, it has to continue. So for that we have to get mercy of the Lord. We get mercy of the Lord by surrendering to him fully by serving other devotees, and then through our sadhana, bhakti, chanting, reading, etc., etc., right? So this Shravanam is also a very powerful process. So it will help us. But basically, please remember the tap of bhakti has to be opened. Today it is trickling. Our bhakti tap is trickling, just drops of bhakti. But there has to be a pravaha. There has to be like a flow. And only when that flow starts, and for the flow, obviously, one of the most important things is that we have to give time for Krishna. Otherwise, where will the flow come from? So we have to think about all this. See, where we stand and where we have to go, there is like a huge, gap and a lot of area to be covered, right? But if we are just simply thinking just about our, material life and responsibilities and this and that and all that, which is okay, but we have to, like I keep saying, plan to come out of all this at some point in time. If we don't plan to come out of all this stage, then maybe another birth might be required for perfection. If by the grace of the Lord and the great soul devotees, a living being becomes fortunate enough to associate with the unadulterated devotees of the Lord and gets a chance to hear the unadulterated glories of the Lord, certainly the flow of devotional service takes place. A river, as the river flows on till she reaches the sea, similarly, pure devotional service flows by the association of pure devotees till it reaches the ultimate goal, namely Krishna Prema. Such a flow of devotional service cannot stop. As the flow begins, modes of passion and ignorance vanish. So basically, flow has to be opened, and for this, unadulterated hearing with unadulterated association of unadulterated devotees. तस्यैवं मेऽनुरक्तस्य प्रश्रितस्य हतैनसः श्रद्धानस्य बालस्य दान्तस्यानुचरस्य च. I was very much attached to those sages. I was gentle in behavior, and all my sins were eradicated in their service. See, this attraction to devotees, it has to happen. If you don't get attracted to devotees, then you will not make progress. And also, Narada Muni is saying, I was gentle in behavior. Chena. It's so difficult for stupid people like me. I'm just full of arrogance. So we have to become gentle in behavior. Gentle in behavior, attracted to devotees. All my sins were eradicated. So in their service. So basically, you see, Krishna is very merciful. He's given us various ways for us to eliminate our sins. So we have to latch on to one or more of them and stick to it. In my heart, I had strong faith in them. I had subjugated the senses, and I was strictly following them with body and mind. So, and how is this possible? Because he engaged in hearing, and he came to that stage of prema. When one comes to the stage of prema, automatically he'll control his senses. But for us, while we are on the path and our senses are troubling us, especially the mind, so we also have to make that extra effort to control the mind depending on Krishna, depending on Krishna's name, form, etc. Meaning basically whenever our mind is disturbing us, we should engage it in Krishna's service, right? That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Manmana bhava madbhakto. So man has to be invested in Krishna. If the man gets invested in material things, then we drown. If it becomes invested in Krishna, then we get liberated. Liberation, why? Because unless we come to Brahma Bhuta, which is liberated, we can't get to the bhakti. So yeah, this verse is more of a result of his process. So because he did all that we have discussed in the last few verses, came to this stage. But more importantly, previous verses we saw that he was disciplined, and he was also gentle in behavior. So and he was serving them nicely. So they gave their mercy. More and more service, more and more mercy. So all ingredients for making progress are there in these verses. Please read these verses again and again. These are the necessary qualifications of a prospective candidate who can expect to be elevated to the position of a pure unadulterated devotee. So one has to come to this stage. One has to come to this stage. He himself must be plain and gentle to receive the instructions of such a pure devotee. See, this is also very difficult. We are not plain, we are complicated. Human beings are so complicated. It's very difficult to understand. I mean, many times we don't even understand ourselves. Forget about understanding others. Because we're generally complicated. We're complicatedly wired because of our previous karmas. So it's very difficult. But one who wants to make progress has to become plain. Be totally transparent. People should be able to second guesses. That means that they should be able to predict. Okay, in this stage, I know this devotee will do this. We should be so plain. Then we can make progress. Our head, inside our head only, we are like so completely jumbled up. We ourselves don't know what we will do in one situation. Same situation, we might do something else next time. So all that we have to clear. By association of pure devotees only, Prabhupada is writing, one can get rid of all sins accumulated by mundane association. A neophyte devotee must faithfully serve the pure devotee, and he should be very much obedient and strictly follow the instructions. These are the signs of a devotee who is determined to achieve success even in the existing duration of life. Even in the existing duration of life. Faithfully serve pure devotees, very much obedient, strictly follow the instructions, and plain and gentle. Now clearly Prabhupada has given again all attributes that are required. Jnanam guhyatamam yattat sakshat bhagavatoditam anvavochan gamishyanta kripayadina vatsalaha. As they were leaving, these Bhakti Vedantas, who are very kind to poor-hearted souls, instructed me in that most confidential subject, which is instructed by the personality of Godhead himself. Most confidential subject. Prabhupada writes, the expression most confidential is significant here because knowledge of devotional service is far, far above knowledge of impersonal Brahman. So he was given the most confidential knowledge of devotional service because so far actually they had not instructed him. He had simply heard and served. That's all. He had no idea what is devotional service, what needs to be done, nothing he knew. But he had made tremendous progress without even knowing. So now they told him, saying, okay, see, this is bhakti, this is how it has to be done, etc., etc. Gnana means ordinary knowledge or any branch of knowledge. This knowledge develops up to the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Above this, when it is partially mixed with devotion, such knowledge develops to knowledge of Paramatma. This is more confidential. But when such knowledge is turned into pure devotional service and the confidential part of transcendental knowledge is attained, it is called most confidential. The most confidential knowledge is devotional service. So those Bhakti Vedantas explained the process of devotion and what he needs to do, what process he needs to follow, get up every day early in the morning, do japa, etc., etc. All those details they told him, right? Basically, and then he makes further progress. Okay, I think we'll stop here. My throat is a little bit troubling me. So, yeah, so please read these verses. I mean, these from verse 23, from 23 to 30, right? Yeah, 30 also up to maybe, yeah, but 30 at least the various stages that Narada Muni went and made tremendous progress to achieve Krishna Prema have been described. So please read these verses again. So tomorrow, Krishna willing, we will continue. Okay. Anybody has any questions? No question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you told we should have Utsaha, Dairya, and
Nishchaya.
Nishchaya.
Nishchaya. Utsaha is enthusiasm. Nishchaya, Dhairya is determination. What is Nishchaya? Dhairya, or Dhairya is, here, 1 second. Confidence, patience. Utsa, Nishchaya is confidence or determination. Dhairyat is patience. Next of instruction, verse 3.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, and we'll end. Pardon me for my throat. I'm not able to, just barely manage it. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनन्तकोटि वैष्णववृन्द Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.